Hello, everyone. My name is Farooq. So, this is the first podcast regarding what we feel and what we believe and how we think and we perceive it should be played in this country, also across the world. So, we have named it Silly Points. So, this is our extension to our childhood memories and our childhood dreams of becoming cricketers. And that dream could not materialize. And this is how we want to pursue this dream going forward. And this is where we want to put our points together. And that is how we came about the name Silly Points. And whatever points that we make here are going to sound very silly. And we have two more people on the podcast today. And we're going to discuss about England versus India series that has recently concluded. And we are going to talk a lot of nonsense, a lot of sense. We're going to leave it to you on how you want to perceive this and what kind of comments you have to come forward with, right? With whatever that we have to discuss here today. So we have Shravan. Shravan has been a cricket enthusiast and he's been my friend for the last 10 odd years. And many more to come. And I have Bhaskar here, and Bhaskar is also a cricket enthusiast, and he's a silent commentator. He doesn't have any affiliations, unlike me and Shravan. Bhaskar is always on the fence. He's never taken a stand. Probably that's because he likes to hedge his bets on multiple teams. I don't know, but let's figure it out. Let's find out. So let's get started. Shravan, you can take over and you can give your opening thoughts and we'll take it forward from there.
With whatever I can understand, this series is something which left a different thought process in my mind. I was predicting a different result, but the end result is 2-1.
Let's be frank. Our first assumption was England would take away the series.
So I basically have a couple of questions for you regarding the squad that played the first four tests. First is the place of Rahane.
Ajinkya Rahane is a wonderful contributor to team. So he has been whatever the way in which he has contributed, maybe with the slip catching or with the way in which he was being the vice captain in the last 2 years. So, and to include one thing, because he literally was the captain of the Indian team which won Australia 2-0, right? So that is one of the important things which we have to consider. But what I was thinking regarding Rahane was that he looked a little bit out of form. I'm not someone who can decide the word form, but what I felt was that he can be given some break. One of the important reasons which I feel that because there was a chance given to him for 2 test matches. I agree he's also a leading run scorer for during the WTC cycle 1. But there are 3 people on the bench who could replace him and do the same scoring by giving an additional benefit. Okay, so I understand Rahane. Okay, let's consider only Rahane's average of 25 runs, which he's scoring since the last 2 years or last 1 year at least. So if you consider that last 1 year, 25 runs which he scored, there are 3 more people who could score that 25 runs and maybe add more advantage. First, starting Ashwin. You might think, what am I talking? Am I making any sense? But what I feel here is that Ashwin is a bowler, first thing. Okay, and he might score 20 runs. So he is a number 2 spinner. So what I consider him as a world class spinner because he has improved drastically. What I have read in an article is that he has actually adjusted his hip position and also the way in which he pitched the ball because of his really bad form in his outside the India matches. So he is someone.
Also, he always tries to innovate and come with new ideas.
He's someone who wants to improve himself.
Does a lot of homework as well.
Yes, he's someone who tries to outsmart the batsman. So okay, let's consider this as one option. And next is another person who had to play a match, but he did not play because of whatever the reasons, the ball which hit him on the helmet or something. Mayank Agarwal. So he is a genuine opener. So he did play once or twice in 2 or 3. So he can be given a chance. I'm not saying that he should be, but he can be. And there is another third person who is also a specialist batsman who can bowl spin. So who is Vihari? So there are 3 people. So if we consider these three,
I have doubts about Vihari because I think I'll take that question to Bhaskar, but you can answer me on the Pujara question.
He stood like a wall. He was being termed as the another wall after Rahul Dravid because of the way he played in Australia 2018, or maybe one of the important matches that people forgot is 2015 Sri Lanka tour when Pujara was carried his bat. after being dropped for the first 2 test matches. So he's someone who made comeback. He's been dropped after 2014 England series, so he was been dropped and he made comeback. So he carried his bat with 150 not out. So, and another thing, 2018-19 he was man of the series. 2019-20 Australia also he was like that wall. And in 2018 England series as well, he did contribute decently. I cannot say in a great way, but decently. So in the second innings course, I don't consider every batsman to score in both the innings. So I think okay, Pujara might be given some chance.
Yeah, so I'll just close in on that thought with my point of view, which is Pujara is, I guess, that batsman. The way Dhoni is for ODIs. So if Dhoni does well in one match and doesn't do well in the other, right? So like everybody come down hard at him. No? So it's like the path is over for Dhoni, right? So those are the kind of comments you receive, right, for Dhoni. So I think people just go really hard at Pujara as well whenever he doesn't perform every second innings, because I think that shows the kind of expectations people have of him. And it's also being a little harsh. Like now, when I look at it after what you just said regarding the Sri Lanka piece of 2018-19, I think he does perform, but because of the expectations and because he has big shoes to fill, which is of Dravid, right? And also, I think Pujara should be seen in a very different lens, which is him getting runs is a different issue, but him consuming time, right? Spending a lot of time out there is also a skill that we need to consider. So that is where I think he brings that extra X factor into the play, because he knows the art of staying, right? So I think probably you are right. So I think he should be given a little more time, and I guess we also need to have a little more patience. So with that, I'll take it to Bhaskar regarding Bihari. If someone asks for a substitute, he's always up there. Okay, he's your go-to sub or your go-to 12th man, and that's been his role, and he's been very selfless, right? So, what do you think of Vihari, and do you see Vihari's place going forward?
Frankly speaking, no. I have a couple of points to put forward to strengthen my answer on this. The first one is if you look at his debut innings, yeah, it is true that he scored a half century in that. But most of the boundaries that he got, if you go back to that innings, those are the balls that flew off the edges. His start was pretty nervous, and throughout that particular series, whatever matches that he played, he was pretty nervous. I mean, he was able to consume balls and spend some time in the crease, but whatever stance he was taking and everything showed the bowlers that he is an easy wicket or something like that. So what I think is, yeah, he has a pretty good solid technique, but he needs to show that confidence, and he needs to let the team management and his team members know that he is someone who can be depended upon. That is more important for any particular team. Let's say Pujara, as we are talking about Pujara, even if he doesn't perform in a couple of innings, let's say in the first match and second test match of India versus England, he didn't have those many scores, but he came and stood up at the matter when it mattered the most. The third test in the first innings when all the wickets were falling, he and Rahane they maintained a good partnership, which was really really important. After that, the tailenders came in and they just swung their bats, and we got to a decent score, which helped us in winning the test match itself. So this is something that is this quality of Pujara is something that always admired by the team management, even in the Australia series. So I'm just trying to see if Vihari gets into the team, whose position can he overshadow?
Also, I think the amount of time we gave to Vihari and his role in the team, right, would be far less than what the management would have given in the last 2 months.
One more reason that I think Vihari might not be he might not be getting any more chances in the future, probably because of the youngsters who are there in the bench, right?
And
Instead of
he's
investing
very
in,
easily replaceable. No, so it's not like he's bringing something really unique to the table. Like let's say Mayank Agarwal or even Karun Nair, who's out of the team, right? He's not bringing anything unique to the table, and his first class records also speak the same. Like I think Shawan could throw some light on his statistics. I don't think his first class numbers are too fanciful to start with. Probably he lucked out because of whatever injuries we have had with that Australia series. I think he lucked out.
Harry actually, surprisingly had a better first class record, which even I came to know recently, because his first class average was around 55 and his highest score was 302. But in contrast, his test runs, after making his international debut in tests, so his runs were very less. So he just scored around 600 runs, and his highest, he had only 1 century and 450s. People like Vihari and Ashwin must not be forgotten, because they were injured and they just put their lives on line. They knew that they'll not be playing the test, but they still tried to save the test. They know that they won't be in the team next match, but still they put their life. See, I really feel bad about Rahane, because there has been a lot of pressure on him, and he is actually a genuine opener. So he was actually shifted to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I remember he played it 7 once, which is not at all his forte. But so that means there has been a lot of dilemma in the way in which position which he has to play. So in that sense, at that time, Ajinkya Rahane's position was under threat due to Rohit Sharma also, because Ajinkya Rahane was taken outside, put out of the team for in the South Africa series, and he was brought back in Johannesburg because Rohit Sharma failed 4 times. So the person of that sort, he was continuously being suppressed or being put into confusion. So he is someone who is very silent. Ajinkya Rahane and Pujara are someone who doesn't speak. They are not too loud. They're very calm people, but still they make their presence felt somehow. So in this way, what I feel is that yes, Rahane has to be given some opportunities, but he can be given some break, because he's someone who can make comeback. So he has that complete caliber to make comeback. If there was some kind of a rotation, maybe he can be told by the management saying that, see, this is the situation, you can stay out, and there'll be some other person replacing. We are trying to rotate the players and preparing the players for the international matches for the future.
Solution that I think is for going forward for our team would be the rotation policy. I would still consider, even with their current averages in the past 2 years, I would still consider Kohli, Rahane or Pujara the two common elements that we think that they bring to the table is the experience and the stability in the team. So what if we rest one of the player, use the other player, and then ask the player who is in the team to mentor a new player who will be taken into the team. Let's say Suryakumar Yadav or Mayank Agarwal comes in place of Rahane. Pujara can stay with the Mayank Agarwal, stay, give all the wisdom, impart the wisdom, and make sure that there is a good transition from the team whose average age right now is nearly 31 to the teams whose average age is taking it back to 25, 26. That is something that we can do in the next couple of years. I think this WTC season, I think this is something that the team should consider, management should consider.